kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast into outer darkness, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And let me talk about that, lest that alarm you. What he's saying is that the old covenant people of God, he calls them the children of the kingdom. And he says they're going to come outsiders from the east and the west. Guess what? That's like us. We're from the east and the west. We're the outsiders. We've come because we believe in him. But he said the children of the kingdom who don't believe in me, when he says cast into outer darkness, he's using that as a metaphor. He said they're going to be on the outside. All of these outsiders are going to come in, and they're going to be on the outside and think, what happened? And they're going to be, it says, see, we're all, this is not something, I don't believe. I think this is not something for the future. This is something right now. Right now are in the kingdom of heaven. The same community of faith with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, enjoying all of God's blessings. And anyone who's not believing it is just on the outside, no matter who they were under the old covenant. That's what he said, in light of the fact that this outsider has come with so much faith. But notice what he says in verse 13. All of that to get you to this. Listen carefully. Jesus said to the centurion, go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed the selfsame hour. He said, as you have believed. Now, he didn't have to say, whatever God's will is, so be it done, because he already knew what God's will is. God's will is for them, to everybody who will, to have the blessings of God. And this man came believing in it. He said, just as you have believed, so be it done unto thee. Do you know what? If Jesus were standing here today, and we came to him with all of our needs, he would have the same answer to us. As you have believed, so be it done unto thee. But then the question becomes, is what do we really believe? So we need to settle that we really do believe. Because what his will for us is, as we believe, as you believe, so be it done. See, this is not just for this centurion. This is his attitude towards everybody. As you have believed, so be it done unto thee. Now, if I could use an analogy and use Phil and the dollar bill, for example, and I could say, I have this gift, and as you believe, so be it done. If you just sit there, you don't experience it. But if you get up and come up and take it, you're thinking, I should get out some more dollar bills and let you have another chance. That was just an illustration. But the same thing's true what comes with God. As we have believed, so be it done. I got one more. I don't want to drag this. I could show you example after example where Jesus said this exact same thing. He didn't just say it once. He said it over and over again. As you have believed, so be it done unto thee. The thing that was the deciding factor. See, he had something from God that was for everybody. Anybody and everybody. No distinctions. And it was free with no strings attached. The only thing that made the deciding factor, the only thing that discriminated was who believed it and who didn't believe it. Many people were indifferent to Jesus. Many people disbelieved in Jesus. Many people, it's hard to imagine this, were his enemies. The Pharisees, for instance, described they were jealous of him. It's hard to, think of all the different motivations. Let me just look at one more illustration. This is in Mark's Gospel, chapter 5, just to make this point. Mark's Gospel, chapter 5, and beginning to read with verse 25. I think this is another remarkable story, but it makes the point. A certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, this is Mark chapter 5, verse 25. A certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. This is a sad thought here. It's possible. This is not just something that could have happened 2,000 years ago. The same thing could happen today. Now, I'm not down on the physicians. I'm sure they're doing best they can. But this is just plain fact. They don't have all the answers. They're not magicians. And they're only using natural means. But I'll tell you something. God in heaven is not limited to natural means. He's not limited to man's activities and man's wisdom. And so she suffered. And notice this, 12 years, which is a long time. This is something she had, a long-standing situation. 12 years, and she suffered. The physicians treated her with all their treatments, and she suffered because of that. And not only that, they took all of her money too. It wasn't free. There's a good contrast. God, what He has is for free. All you got to do is come and receive it. She spent all that she had on the physicians and was no better. In fact, worse. That's a pathetic situation. Almost a hopeless situation. A person in that kind of situation might just want to throw up their hands and say, what else can I do? I've spent everything. I've done what they said to do. I'm not better. In fact, I'm worse. But here's the good news. When she heard of Jesus, what did she hear about Jesus? Well, it doesn't tell us. But evidently she heard something good about Jesus. Evidently she heard that this man Jesus is operating in the power of God, and He is granting to people what they need. She might have heard about that centurion. Maybe she heard about that. That man that Jesus said, "As you have believed, so be it done unto thee." Maybe that word got around. I don't know. You know, in Luke's gospel, it tells the story of the centurion, and this is the very next story. So it leads me to believe that she might have heard about that. You know, what Jesus was doing, word was getting around. You know, I'm not going to do this right now, but if we were to skip over it into the book of Acts, the Acts of the Apostles, when Jesus has finished His redemptive work, Peter, one of Jesus' disciples, was called in chapter 10 to the house of a centurion to preach to them. And he begins his sermon this way. He said, the things concerning Jesus were not done in secret, and I say that you know all about them. You've heard of them already. See, she had heard, evidently, that Jesus is healing. She might have heard about the leper who said, "If you will, you can make me clean." He said, "I will be clean." She heard something about Jesus. Whatever she heard, it prompted her to do something. It said, when she heard of Jesus, she came in the press behind, that means the crowd, and touched His garment. Why did she do that? Verse 28. For she said, "If I may but touch His clothes, if I may touch but His clothes, I shall be whole." Now, why did she think that? What gave her that idea? She evidently heard that Jesus has the power of God in His life, and she just thought to herself, if I can just get to Him, if I can just get to Jesus. She's already spent all her money on the physicians. She's done all the treatments. She's had this thing for 12 years. She's in a hopeless situation. But when she heard of Jesus, she said, if I can just get to Him, if I can just touch His clothes, I will be made whole. Notice how, this is something we might read over, but notice how certain she is. I shall be whole. She placed all of her hope and her confidence on Jesus. If I can just get to Him, I'll be whole. She doesn't seem to have any doubt about it. She seems pretty sure. She doesn't seem to have any, well, maybe, or I don't know, or I'll give it a try. Or she says, if I get Jesus, He's got the answer. That's what she's saying. I shall be whole. So that's why she came in to touch His clothes. So she came and touched His clothes, for she said, if I may but touch His clothes, I shall be whole. Verse 29. Straightway, that means right away, the fountain of her blood was dried up. She felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. She felt it. She touched His clothes and she felt it. But here's the surprising thing. Verse 30. Jesus, immediately knowing in Himself that virtue, the word that's translated virtue here means power. He sensed that power had gone out of Him. What did that power do? It came to this woman and healed her. He turned around in the press and He said, who touched my clothes? Now, we like to think that Jesus, just automatically knows everything. And I don't think He knew. I think He didn't know. See, he had the power of God in Him, and He felt the power go out, but He didn't know who drew on it. Now, you know what that tells me? Well, here, let's go and read. The disciples said to Him, and thou seest the multitude thronging Thee, and sayest thou, who touched me? In other words, when it says you see the multitude thronging Thee, they were in a crowd. And it's like as though they're saying, you're saying, who touched me? Everybody's touching you. They're all touching you. See that? Have you ever been in a crowd like that? Have you? Have you ever been in a crowd where it's just pressing in on all sides?
Yes.
Got on a subway maybe, or some kind of a thing where everybody's, you can feel people touching all around. It's not very comfortable.
Everywhere.
Yeah, right. Don't you? And that's